It seems like such a long time ago that OnePlus was the natural alternative option to the Google Pixel series, and the days of never settle being the core ethos are really behind the BBK-led behemoth. The OnePlus 12 signifies this better than any other phone, and here's what it's like to live with for an extended period of time. When we look at the OnePlus 12 versus its own lineage, it definitely feels right at home, and it's stuck with that smooth satin finish and curvy shape. This just means it's like an enhanced OnePlus 11. It's definitely way more top-heavy than its predecessor thanks to the larger camera section, and I have to say that this feels like the most Oppo that a OnePlus phone has felt. And by that I mean it feels like a high-end phone in just about every aspect. Thick, chunky and hefty in your hands, and I really do like that aspect of it. As I said, the satin finish is really nice to look at, and it glints with that matte black option that I don't think is going to age badly. The OnePlus 11 definitely highlights this. OnePlus really hasn't broken any new ground, and admittedly it is a little bit safe in terms of its own predecessors. However, it's clean, it's beautifully put together like many of the best devices out there. I think moving the power button to the same side of the volume rocker actually has made a lot of sense to me as a mainly Google Pixel user. The excellent alert slider is now on the left side all by its own, and I've been using this a ton, and with Apple also ditching their own alert slider in favour of a multi-use button, I'm actually hoping that OnePlus can improve this toggle and make it their own a little bit more moving forward. Maybe we'll see some more iterations with the OnePlus 13 and beyond. The thing is with the OnePlus 12, it's all about that screen. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's easily one of the biggest and best selling points, with the soft curves also being added here. I think the entire package is genuinely superb. I did ditch the pre-applied screen protector shortly after receiving this. I think it felt awfully cheap, and although I haven't replaced it or used a case over the past few months, my screen is really holding up well with zero marks, scuffs or nicks to speak of. Using the OnePlus 12 without a case has actually been a really nice experience. I do understand though, if you have this phone and you want to pick this up, definitely go get a case. Sadly, there aren't that many options, especially for screen protectors, but I'll leave a few that we've recommended from the rest of the team that have been used the OnePlus 12 down in the comments as well. When we start to look at this display in more detail, I think this is genuinely one of the best that I've used, period. It's smooth like silk, it's massive, and the rich colours make every single type of content look really, really incredible. The screen gets incredibly bright, it's really nice in all kinds of scenarios. You can see it in just about any type of lighting, even in bright environments. I do think the curves are going to be a problem for some of you, but I will say it doesn't bother me as much. I do agree that a flat screen would elevate the display even further though. Does it detract from the overall experience of watching videos and generally using this panel? In my opinion, it's not enough to ruin this, at least this display. The fingerprint scanner that's also included is insanely fast. I'll stop short of calling it the fastest I've used because I'm actually not sure, but it's definitely up there. That said, it's refreshing that you don't need to register a thumb or finger multiple times to get reliable unlocks. I'm looking at you, Pixel series. The crisp vibration as well when you unlock is absolutely a joy, and when I power this screen back on, it's one of those things I actually look forward to in a nerdy way. I've really fallen in love again with the OnePlus haptics. Every single tap, swipe and interaction has that lovely vibration-based feedback, and it's incredible when you start to tweak the O haptics option. For years, I've lauded, and many people have lauded, iPhone haptics. On Android, the Google Pixel was king for a long time, but I think for the past few years, OnePlus and Oppo have left every single person behind when it comes to haptics, and I've cranked up the settings here to make them even more intense. Do the same, and I think you'll thank me later. Let's be honest for a second though, OxygenOS, it really isn't OxygenOS anymore, at least as far as names are concerned. OnePlus can try and tell us otherwise, but I think it's a bit of a fabrication. The clean but feature-packed iOS P-like builds from the OnePlus 8 era and older are really long gone by now, and I can understand how and why this has been one of the number of key reasons why long-time brand fans have ditched OnePlus. ColorOS, because for all intents and purposes this is ColorOS, is still a really acquired taste. I will say though that despite the obvious iOS influences, it's really grown on me over the past couple of months. In fact, I'd actually like to see more unique options that help differentiate Oppo and OnePlus phones, because they do feel really samey at this point in time. Things like the shelf. Well, I wish this were an alternative option for Discover, like the Samsung newsfeed. Maybe OnePlus could also allow more app widgets in this section, as the preset options are pretty slim. I found myself using it more often to get a quick glance at some key information like the weather and global times, but it would be a little bit more useful if we have some more widget options in here. I'm also surprised that OnePlus didn't try and shoehorn in more AI functions, but to be honest, I have to say it feels really great without them. You can use Gemini if you want to, you can use Magic Eraser in Google Photos if you're a Google One subscriber, but there really isn't anything that would enhance experience all that much. Maybe circle to search would be a nice addition. That said, I have to say it's really nice that OnePlus, and by extension Oppo, is focusing on the core experience first and foremost. And visuals aside, I think this is one hell of an experience day to day. Coming from the Pixel 8 Pro, the OnePlus 12 feels so much snappier. It's super fluid and responsive, and I haven't seen a single bit of lag, even with lots of apps loaded and installed. Lots of updates have come since launch to sweep away any bugs and issues, and the entire experience is just refined for speed and performance, and it's easily on par with the Galaxy S24 Ultra in terms of raw power and fluidity. A cursory glance at complaints online from people using the OnePlus 12 is that you can get thermal throttling when playing games if the heat exceeds that 35 to 40 degree barrier, or around about 10 to 20 minutes of a game like Call of Duty Mobile or other high quality 3D titles. I must admit, I did see some frame rate drops when testing this out for myself, and in some cases it was as high as 10 FPS, but most cases it was 4 or 5 frames per second. Even when using that dedicated pro gamer mode, it seemed to have the problem. The device doesn't overheat, that's the main thing, but you will need to work out if this is a problem for you, if losing frames in some of your favourite titles is going to be a deal breaker. That said, everywhere else, this phone flies. Even months after release, building up lots of device and app caches, the phone is an absolute beast. Another one of the standout features of the OnePlus 12 is its absolutely remarkable battery life, and that massive 5,400 mAh cell means that the phone can easily power through a full day of intensive usage on a single charge cycle. I'm absolutely wowed at how infrequently I need to charge my phone when I'm using this as my main or sole device. I love not thinking about charging or the next time I need to charge. I can randomly charge and get a couple of days if it's light usage, and I thought this would dip over time, but it's still hanging in there. I've barely ever had a full or heavy day where the battery dips below 20%, and I can count on one hand how many times that has seen that figure over the past few months. Even the standby time is impressive. So for instance, if I leave my phone on idle, it'll just sip away and barely make a dent in the actual battery percentage level. Leaving it overnight also knocks off just 1 or 2% battery life, and I haven't had an Android phone that can do that for a long time. With my Pixel, sometimes I'll leave it and lose 10 to 15% overnight without even touching the thing. So we all know that OnePlus has historically lagged behind Samsung and Google in terms of camera quality, but the OnePlus 12's camera system has made significant improvements this year. Before I delve into the image quality specifics, I must admit that the Hasselblad colour tuning is my favourite profile on any modern smartphone. It's also improved drastically since the partnership was first confirmed back in 2021. Ordinarily, you get a good main sensor and a competent secondary on a OnePlus phone. The tertiary sensor was always lacking or had a major bugbear. Not this year though. The zoom lens is better than the Pixel 8 Pro in my experience, and I think even competes with the Galaxy S23 and S24 Ultra, which were the best zoom range options on Android in most regions. The zoom range of 3x with an optical periscope to 60 times digital provides ample flexibility, and I will say outstanding image quality. They're sharp, detailed, and without too much sharpening thrown in there for good measure. Of course, I will say zooming in beyond 30 times actually starts to wash out photos a little bit, and digital sharpening can be a little bit strong. I do think though that the quality above 20 times is actually way better than the Pixel 8 Pro in my own testing, and not only though the camera software can occasionally exhibit bugs such as lens switching issues, but luckily I don't think this detracts from the overall results of what this camera is capable. I'll also note that low light images using the night mode look really natural rather than synthetic. Lots of other alternatives can feel fake or hyper-realised. You'll know what I mean when you see them. I really love that OnePlus stuffed the camera full of added extra functions and features that you can play around with. None of these are really new, but in tandem with the Hasselblad tuning, I think it's one of the most fun camera systems out there. The X-Pan and the film modes, I think they're the icing atop the cake, as you can take ultra-wide stills and anamorphic-esque videos right there on your phone. On the front as well, the OnePlus 12 features a 32 megapixel selfie camera. I will say I'm not much of a selfie taker, but this high-resolution sensor takes really good selfies and facilitates high-quality video calls as well. The improved software algorithms provide more accurate colours, refined portrait mode photos, and enhanced computational photography features, making the OnePlus 12 definitely one of the best camera phones on the market today. For the first time probably ever, the OnePlus, or a OnePlus, goes toe-to-toe with the biggest and best across all areas. Sometimes it even beats the big guys too. While I do miss the cleaner software aesthetic of the pre-Oppo OnePlus, I can definitely see why the merger has benefited the overall quality of the hardware efforts here. While it's hard to call the OnePlus 12 a flagship killer, at least in the traditional sense, it's one of the most impressive smartphones I've used in 2024. The team behind this updated brand has been quietly working away behind the scenes with a few duds in the last few years, and I think the result now is one of the best phones of the year with really little to no fanfare. Maybe older OnePlus phones were overhyped, and we may have been guilty of doing that here, but recent releases now seem to be a little bit underappreciated. My minor concerns with the visual aesthetic of the software stack aside, I think if I was spending my own cash on a device, the now heavily discounted OnePlus 12 would definitely be top of the list. Whenever I put my SIM back into the Pixel 8 Pro, I actually wonder if I've been too hasty doing so, and I think it's the first time in a long time that I've felt that way about a flagship OnePlus phone. I'll go one further and stick my neck out here and say that the OnePlus 12 is the most improved phone in about every area, at least from its predecessor, and that's particularly in the camera. The result is the most complete OnePlus phone today, with a few compromises, but I think less than ever. I'd consider it a great cheaper alternative to the Galaxy S24 Ultra 2. Is it the best phone I've used in 2020 so far? Well, I've got to say, based on the evidence, it's actually a resounding yes. You may disagree with me though, and I think that's absolutely fine. That said, I do think for under $800, this is one hell of a product. I just wish we had a few more software updates, because I think OnePlus's update plan is a little bit shaky. Let me know though what you think of the OnePlus 12 down in the comments section, and let's get some dialogue going about this device. I always want to also thank the legends on screen now. They're absolute superstars, we love you. Hit the join button if you want to be a legend yourself, but until next time, I will speak to you later.